compartment. Biodiversity is in another compartment. Climate change is in another compartment. Economic development is in another compartment. All of these compartments have to go to sustainability, and there's no engine anymore. The engine is parked somewhere else. So each of these compartments try to find themselves a small engine and design their own new route towards sustainability. And this compartmentalization of issues within the global negotiation process headed by the UN system and brought and given a chance for the different governments to deliberate has led us to run riot. Each compartment is running differently. Obviously, we do not have a destination. And the dangerous part is now in 1992, the Secretary General of the Earth Summit, UNCED, Maurice Strong, called that it was the last chance to save the Earth. That was in 1992, virtually 20 years ago. And now, calling the Copenhagen Climate Summit last December, the challenge is greater. They are saying we have to find a destiny of survival on Earth by 2050. So, we are obviously lost in this game, and this compartmentalization and discussing issues separately without looking at it holistically is not helping to solve the problem. It is creating more problems and adding on to the problems, and that is why negotiations are failing every time that the world is convened. That is why I had to write the book and call it climate sustainability, and I call it has to be climate sustainability because it's
a destination.
Because it is a holistic approach.
So can we there define exactly, Mr. De Zoysa, what you mean by climate sustainability? What exactly is that?
Okay, sustainability in generic terms and defined by the Brundtland Commission in 1987 basically said that development that meets the requirements of the current generation but does not compromise the aspirations, similar aspirations of living in development of the future generations, is called sustainable development. In very simple terms, that means that if you and I start consuming everything today and do not leave anything for our children, we are not into sustainable development. Obviously, we are not sustaining the development. If you and I are conscious about taking our share that is only required to sustain ourselves on Earth during the given time as a human being, and leaving possibilities for prosperity for the next generations, then we are thinking of sustainability.
Now, how practical is that, Mr. De Zoysa? Because the key word in your definition was also one of the key words is consuming stuff. So basically, if you look at the world, there is a particular system that is inculcated and embedded in societies. If you look at the way the West consumes the goods and services, that they are used to a particular lifestyle and they're addicted to that lifestyle, and they want to sustain that lifestyle because that is what they're used to. And then also, if you look at the role of the media is that media influence the entire world to sort of get addicted to that lifestyle. So isn't there a dilemma, or is there a contradiction when we think of how realistic is achieving this target of sustainability, keeping in mind that we are actually staying in a system which is enforced and reinforced by the prevalent structures and also the media?
This is the core of what I have written in this book. What I am claiming is that the greatest problem on Earth is not that climate change is happening or poverty is here. The greatest problem that we need to address is the unsustainable consumption and production patterns on Earth. And 10 years after the Rio Summit in 1992, in 2002, in Johannesburg, when the World Summit on Sustainable Development was convened, one of the key determinants was that the current consumption and production patterns on earth are unsustainable and we need to address this problem. That is why I'm saying if we start negotiating climate change separately and then leave sustainability and poverty eradication for someone else, there's going to be it's going to be very hard to find a compromise or a common meeting place. And how is it going to find the solutions? Say, if we say that, okay, let's regulate all the fossil fuel burning on earth and let's stop it now. Scientists say, even if we zero our carbon emissions today, now, we stop all carbon emissions, carbon dioxide emissions on earth, still climate change has started happening. And that means that we are in for a future that is going to be a little bit more warmer than we are used to. On the other hand, can we continue to leave half of the population on earth hungry every day, destitute every day now? And can we say that, okay, added to this problem of hunger and poverty, you are going to have another problem of survival from climate threats? The idea basically is to create a global forum which addresses all issues holistically.
So if the UN is an organization that is already there now and has tested and tried this so many times, so if you are critical of the system, what is the alternative you propose?
Look, this question was asked by a Norwegian professor in run-up to the Copenhagen Climate Summit, when I proposed and created and managed what was called the Climate Sustainability Platform during the Copenhagen Climate Summit. It was a parallel event. We brought in scientists, we brought in people from business and industry, we brought in people from civil society and so on. The issue is, what is the United Nations? The United Nations would mean that the collective body that we have given mandate to as nations to facilitate the issues of the world. Now, if this mandate is given only to 20% of the nations on earth, and say that, okay, you look after the interest of the 20% rich countries and rest of us will have, will watch and see, then it cannot be United Nations. There's a disunity of nations then. This is what happened in Copenhagen. Copenhagen Climate Summit was a complete failure. The negotiations broke down. The developing countries could not be brought together to discuss with the developed countries in an agenda to collectively agree upon. Then China, India, Brazil and South Africa, which is called the basic group, met separately and started talking. Walked in United States Mr. Obama and walked in the European Union and about 25 countries, while the United Nations was running one of the largest summits on earth. Over 18,000 people were in Copenhagen, in a little city. 20 countries, 20 countries started negotiating a separate deal, which was called the Copenhagen Accord. Now, why do we need a United Nations organization if they cannot bring in all parties into creating an accord? That is what I am challenging. But I am not saying that United Nations do not have a role. I am saying that they have a significant role and they should be performing that. Now, I have called this the candy shop in the book. Now, what I am saying is that, look, it's nice to, candy is lovely. People love candy. The problem is, if you keep on consuming too much of candy, then you have problems. You will get diabetes, you will have obesity, and that is what you see of over-consumerism happening in the developed countries. Now, on the other hand, there are a lot of people who can't afford candy. They just need to have their next small meal.